Hey everyone, Effie here. Today I'm going to show you how I painted these adorable and pretty seed envelopes that I created for our Instagram hop yesterday, but I'm finally getting around to editing that video. So let's get started. This is our seed envelope die. I cut it out on some very lightweight cardstock. There are 3 score lines within the die cut, so you can just fold along these score lines, and then when you glue everything together you have this really pretty envelope. For the image I used our Noteworthy Blooms stamp set. This is a beautiful cluster and it acts as kind of a background stamp for this small envelopes die cut because it isn't as big, so you can see it covers the entire face of the envelope. I've gone ahead and gold heat embossed the image onto my envelope die cut, and now I'm going to do some watercoloring using Dr. P.H. Martin's Radiant Concentrated Watercolors. Now I believe the color that I'm using right now is the Persimmon watercolor, and I'm just laughing because I know in my previous videos some couple of people were they pointed out that I was pronouncing it wrong, but I guess it's pronounced persimmon, but I say it persimmon because that's the way my mom says it. And it's just, yeah. So sorry if that bothers you guys, but it's kind of like a coral color, really, really pretty. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish watercoloring this beautiful rose in this image. I added the pigment to the inner portions of each petal using a fine tip water brush, and then I'm going to blend that pigment out using another brush. It depends on the size of the petal whether I use a fine tip or medium tip brush. So the larger the petal, the larger brush I use to blend that pigment out. But if you're working with smaller petals or smaller areas, you want to stick with your fine tip brush. So I essentially use my fine tip brush as a watercolor marker as I dip the end of the brush tip into the liquid watercolors, and then I will add the pigment to each petal using my DIY watercolor marker, and then I'll take a separate brush, clean brush, and I'll blend that color out. So I have finished watercoloring this rose using that persimmon coral watercolor, and I'm gonna go ahead and color this anemone image, and I think the color that I'm using here is alpine rose, so I'm just using the same technique. I am going straight to dry paper with my faux watercolor marker, and I'm adding that pigment to the inner petal, and then I'm taking another fine tip brush and I'm making sure that that fine tip brush has some moisture in it. You don't want it too dry, but you also don't want it too wet. Kind of have to be the Goldilocks, and you have to have the right amount of moisture on that brush tip so that you have enough water on there to pull the color out, but you don't want too much water on that brush tip where after you apply it to your pigment it kind of just leaves a puddle of water on your cardstock. So you need the perfect amount of moisture on your brush tip as you blend the color out. So once I have my base color of alpine rose on this beautiful anemone, I'm going to add some orange watercolors to the light areas of my petals. So I'm giving it a two-tone look. Once I finish with that orange hue, I actually go in, I think, with a third tone, the cherry red, because this is a nice deep red in the Radiant Watercolor collection. Once the main large florals are colored in, I'm just going to color in the rest of the smaller florals and the berries using True Blue watercolors. That's the name of the color. It's called True Blue. And then I will just add some grass green to the foliage. I got some green watercolor paint outside the line, so I kind of just blended it out, and I'm not really taking care to stay within the lines anymore with the greens. So once I finish coloring in the entire image, here are just 2 of the seed envelopes for you guys to see. And now I'm going to start assembling or gluing everything down. So I'm just going to take some of my favorite liquid adhesive from Thermoweb. This is their Ultra Bond liquid adhesive, and I have that metal tip. And I'm just going to glue my seed envelope together. So this is how it looks when it's assembled. And now I'm just going to take these two stamps from our Garden Goddess stamp set, and I'm going to stamp the back of my assembled seed envelope. I'm using our Caviar Hybrid ink to stamp, and my seed envelope is now complete. This is a really great gift idea for events. If you plan on giving away seeds as swag, you can customize these envelopes. They are just so adorable, so fun, so pretty. You don't have to use floral images. You can use any image that you have in your stash, but I decided to go with this beautiful watercoloring, and I might just keep these in my stash because I don't know if I can part with them. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's project and video. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because I update it regularly. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.